I'd like to call to order this special workshop of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Tuesday, November 17th at 1 p.m. and the purpose of this workshop is to discuss relocation to City Hall. We'll have the invocation first by Commissioner Cal Allen, and then we'll pledge allegiance to the flag.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together as citizens of this lovely community that you provided for us. We thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We, at this point, would also like to ask you to be with our country and the division that we're facing, that we might come together in a unity of the Spirit and a bond of peace to do what would be best in harmony with your will and the best for the future of our country. And likewise, Father, we'd ask that for ourselves here tonight, that we might use our wisdom and judgment to the best advantage to make the things that would be best suited for our city, its residents, and the future years that will come before us should we be able to survive. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for attending the workshop. We have a fair crowd today for a midday workshop. This month marks 1 year since our first workshop on this very same topic. Since last November, the relocation of City Hall has been discussed at most every City Commission meeting. Today, we will discuss several buildings and vacant properties in Carrabelle that are available for sale. If any members of the City Commission or the City staff have any type of financial interest or investment in any of these buildings or properties being discussed as a potential location, I expect full disclosure. The original intent of this workshop was to have the architects attend to discuss the proposed new City Hall floor plan, receive input on the proposed floor plan, and to explain the architectural company's fees and services. Russell Large of Inovia was directed by the City Commission to invite Mr. Caldwell from Pensacola to attend today. As well, the City Commission voted and approved Russell of Inovia to attend the workshop to provide presentations of the proposed floor plan on possible compatible locations. Today's agenda has been designed to efficiently accommodate the invitees who were officially requested and invited to attend the workshop and to provide sufficient time to hear input from other interested parties and the public. I am requesting the public to hold their comments until the end of each individual presentation. I ask the public be prepared to approach the podium and speak into the microphone and introduce yourself. I request the board members to please speak into their microphones so that their comments can be adequately recorded also. And as a reminder, no action will be taken during this workshop. And with that said, I'll open the workshop for discussion only, starting with item 1. And item 1 is a presentation of the architectural floor plan design and layout by Mr. Miller Caldwell. I believe it's Mr. Miller Caldwell here today, or no, okay. Of Caldwell Associates of Pensacola, as previously directed by the City Commission. And I'll remind you, no action will be taken. So we'll start with you, sir.
For starters, my name is Michael Crawford. Miller Caldwell is my partner. Somewhat like me, a little bit bigger. Miller Caldwell Jr. is his father and is our primary partner of our firm in Pensacola, Florida. We're really happy to be here. It was a fantastic drive over this morning. We're excited to move forward with this. What we have is a floor plan that we a design that we provided for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission that we understand was well received, and is to be the sort of basis of design for
Is
the
your
city
mic
hall.
on?
The
I can't hear a
mic.
word.
Oh, is your microphone on, sir?
That's all.
That better?
That's better, thank you.
Sorry about that, thank you. Just to review, I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I work for Caldwell Associates Architects. I'm the Director of Design. And we're really at the beginning stages of the development of a floor plan. It is our understanding that the floor plan that and building that we provided for Florida Fish and Wildlife was well received, and it's the basis for discussion of the new City Hall floor plan, and that floor plan is up on the screen that you can see here today. There's to be some modifications to that floor plan based on input from you all and others. I have not been provided those sketches yet, but whenever we would begin a project, even if we're beginning with a floor plan that we think is going to work out for you all's uses, as architects, we like to have an open forum session where, before looking at a floor plan and deciding, okay, this is what we want, to verbally go through the program for the types and sizes of spaces that you're going to need to fit into this building, so that we can make sure that what we're providing you is something that works operationally as good as you expect. With that being said, I'll be taking notes at the same time here. I don't know if it would be best suited to walk through the spaces in this building that we want to replicate, or to comment on spaces that we might need in addition to this, or if that's the pleasure of the board to instruct us to determine, we need a certain number of meeting rooms, we need a certain amount of administrative area, we need conference rooms, support spaces, and that. I think I'd leave that open for.
I think that would be at the pleasure of the board, but also I would like to have staff input, because it's for their workspace, and we need to make sure they can function.
Okay. We can start from a broad perspective, just in terms of listing the types of spaces that you need and the amount of area that you need for them, approximately, staff numbers, and that kind of thing. And then once we're able to, after today, we can get some of this information onto paper, and we'll develop a much more comprehensive architectural program. We'll have one of these data sheets for each space, on which we'll have answered all this criteria that tells us what you want in the building. For example, here, this would be one room. What type of floors in terms of material, walls, ceiling heights necessary, door types, whether daylighting is desired or not, humidity control, basic plumbing requirements, number of occupants that intend to use that space, how often they use that space. This building that you see here was built for a single agency that uses it, 8 to 5 every day. It's our understanding that there'll be kind of varied uses in city halls, meetings like this. Air conditioning gets ramped up to support a group of 50 people. It comes back down most of the rest of the day. Equipment that needs to go in there, furnishings and so forth. But this level is not we don't need to get to this level out of today's meeting in any way, but we do need to have a broad understanding of the kinds of spaces and the numbers of spaces that you're hoping to put within this building, that we understand is close to, but not exactly the size that you're after. And I should also say Russell is on his way too. We were, I can see he's running a little bit behind. Is there city staff that would like to provide input, or others?
Well, we have reviewed this, and we've actually had our city administrator and city clerk have been over to look at it, as well as our chief, and the city administrator's been twice, I've been twice. It's something that I think they feel like they could work with. Is that correct? Is that correct, Ms. Keisha? Is that a floor plan that I know you all have discussed it. And we discussed squaring off the edges the outside wall, so that it would be a rectangle.
Again, if it's close to fitting your needs, this doesn't have to be
Uh-huh.
an overly complicated discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, and then it's possible that, well, we also discussed the one over at Timber Island has a covered porch in the back with the same roof system, and we discussed just closing that in and not having a covered porch, but making that more heated space. And it actually may need to be the 70 by 80 or somewhere in there, somewhere to get 5,500 to 6,000 square feet, something like that, because we have to accommodate the police station. The restrooms would need to be moved more up towards the front so that public could access the restrooms, but then there would need to be staff restrooms, one for the police department, one for the city hall side. And then it's unfortunate about this design. There's one, if we have the commission meeting in the back area with entrance in the back for the public, we would have to have another set of restrooms in the back. So that's kind of awkward. With this style, the restrooms could all be in the middle as they are now, and all the plumbing could be in one location. And would be more costly, to put restrooms separate off in the back like that, but we would have to have that. So,
It's my understanding there was about 1,000 square feet additional space that you wanted on top of that. Is that true?
yes, well, this one isn't quite right. This one's 33,532, and we really need, at the minimum 45, but it really needs to be probably 5,500 square feet. Because the police department, they need an evidence room. And that's one thing that attracted us about this one. It was built as a law enforcement facility, so it already has an adequate evidence room, and it's secured, so it could be functional as a city hall.
There would also be a need for a safe of some kind to protect our documents, historical documents, our grants, and all the things that go back. When a fire destroys something like that, it's very valuable to recreate. It's hard to recreate.
Safe room or a safe?
Like a safe.
Okay.
What I've noticed in some city halls, they'll have a fireproof record room.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we're going to have to, why we would expand, we need a records room, and that certainly could be a fireproof records room.
You've obviously been through this building, and it seems to work generally for you. You like the idea of it, but the difference between 3,500 and 5,500 square feet, which is fine, it's easily accomplished. But we have to get a sense of where is that extra.
Where's it coming from?
What do you, of the 2,000 square feet you need? What is that? What's the purpose of that space?
Oh, well, we need it for a records room, and we need it for the city commission meeting room.
You were pointing to that group meeting room, but I don't think that's near the size you need. So.
No, so that's why we would have to bump out.
Okay. Take the
And
place.
then the police department wants its own separate entrance as well. They can enter from the front, but they need a separate entrance in the back. So that's we're trying to see if this building can be modified to suit our needs within an affordable cost.
What about expansion? You need 5,500 square feet now. Is there discussion about future phasing that you would need to either just allow for flexibility for that to occur, or perhaps you have a very specific thing that in 5 years we're planning on it?
No, we don't have a specific thing, and actually I've discussed with staff, and they feel like they don't really see any increase in staff over the next 10 years. And we functioned from City Hall and our little City Hall building downtown for I don't know how many years. 75 years. Thank you, Ms. Tamara. And this could function. We're looking for something that will last 40 to 50 years. And it could function for 40 to 50 years without being enlarged. But myself, I would hate to limit us. We're looking for something that we need to suit our needs now and not much more than that. We can't really afford to have a bunch of extra space just hanging out and that we're heating and air conditioning. So we would, if possible, take one of the rooms and build into it header style, where eventually in the future, if they needed to expand in the future, they could build a breezeway with nothing but commission chambers and restrooms, and then turn this area into offices if that needed to be done, say in 20 years down the road.
Right, and that's not so much a function of providing extra space as knowing where you want to build onto, so that for example, the roof line can accommodate that.
So like it would be like a master plan.
Exactly.
Oh.
Can you give me a sense of the total number of staff members in City Hall and then also Police Department?
I'll let Ms. Courtney speak on that.
There's 4 staff members in City Hall. We have our water and sewer department, our finance clerk, our city clerk, and our city administrator. We have 5 police officers that are full-time. However, there's usually only one on duty at a time.
Okay.
The mayor doesn't have an office, the city commissioners do not have an office. The attorney sometimes uses an office, so it wouldn't hurt to have a spare office for shared use. We certainly want to have a conference room, a breakout small conference room like this building is designed with a conference room, so that we don't have to use the big commission chambers.
And so you think the bulk of the additional space would go to the commission chambers space?
Would have to.
Okay, because in other words, what you're saying is that most of the spaces in here, with the exception of that one, are roughly close to the size that you need, other than what you described with different restrooms being provided, and these are just central restrooms for a single tenant. Okay. So you've got four city staff and 5 police, and having a spare office, but do any of the 4 staff members have enclosed office space, or are they occupied just in the spaces that we have in the existing building? In other words, do they need their own office? Or
They have their own office now.
Okay. And the 5 police officers, there's only one on at a time, so that's...
Yeah, we're looking at an office for our police chief and an office for our assistant chief, and then just one lobby area where you could probably put a desk for an officer.
And one thing that attracted us to this building is when you come in, there's a window there, an access window that customers, we have a water and sewer
Pay
department.
bills.
Right, and that water and sewer department our wastewater treatment can accommodate up to 25,000 residences. We're not near there yet, but we don't want to limit the potential of being able to accommodate that many in the future.
What was the number?
25,000. We have certainly that many vacant lots that are for sale at this point that happened during the real estate boom. So we don't want to shortchange ourselves for growth with water and sewer in the future. And this has an adequate space that our water and sewer clerk could operate and function there. And she could have any of the other staff members to step out to help her in that office. And there's plenty of room there for water and sewer records to maintain.
In that records room that's off to the left, behind the reception, 113. looks like.
Yes, well, now this one up here, we may ask that to be into a copy room or another office. But we'll just get into that later. See how detailed we get with this in the first place.
Right.
How far we want to go.
have within this building, 3 offices, plus the break room, squad room, storage areas, electrical, reception, a conference room. Is it the intent that this, that the right side of the page that you're looking at with the evidence storage and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Manager's office to the right be essentially the police station?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They've got their own evidence custodian there. Are there any other additions or modifications to either the interior or the exterior of the building that you'd like us to incorporate?
Most likely we would, I've talked to staff about it, open this area up right here. I don't know if these are supporting walls, but to open that, if the restrooms were brought around to the front, so the public, when they come in to pay their bill, if they needed to get to the restroom, they could. And then we'd need a door there to secure the police department. And we would also like a door on the other side to secure City Hall. A lot of city halls are secured now. People don't just,
Come in and have access to a lobby and a bathroom.
Yes.
Okay. Simple enough. Are there any necessities to have taller than normal spaces than what are in the existing building right now for any equipment or we can get into those details a little bit later, but just didn't sound like it from my understanding. The restrooms that you have are adequate with the modifications that you requested. Is there a representative from police here today?
No.
Okay, so we can, and we will, when we reach that point, we'll be able to review some of any special requirements that they need. Doesn't sound like with it being, there's no keeping areas for prisoners or others here.
No, and they don't want that.
Got plenty down the road.
Would any of our other agencies, like the road, sewer, road and streets, and any of those people might need some room over here?
They've got that shed that they moved from over at the Marine Street Triangle, and they've already got that remodeled, and they're using that for an office and area.
So if we should move, what will it happen to it?
What do you mean?
What we were just talking about, that shed?
It's over at Streets and Roads.
Over.
Staging yard. They
Okay.
actually have another building over
Okay.
there. They're all set up over there, and our wastewater treatment plant has,
So they would need nothing over there.
and the wastewater treatment plant has a big office.
They have theirs, so you
And what about site selection? I understand there's a couple of sites you're looking at for the building.
We're working on that. Russell is supposed to be here with a presentation on that shortly. Oh, Mr. Waddell.
I'm pinch-hitting on that.
Okay, glad to see you.
Well, having just the primary difference between the floor plan and what you need being the sort of council chambers will be simpler, since it's just essentially that single use that needs to be added on versus various other parts that need additional space. We can reconfigure these fairly simply. This is a wood frame structure, so it's pretty cost effective in terms of what it will cost to build. I don't know. I know that in Pensacola we've experienced a pretty decent increase in construction costs in the past 12 months. And so as we build the plans for the project, we'll also be trying to get information on construction costs in the area too, to make sure that we aren't surprised when we get the bids on that day.
And I understand from the officer, Captain Wood, at this location, that in the final price, that included the parking facility, the lights outside, the utility lights outside, actually the furniture, and the generator. They've got a mighty fine generator over there.
Right, we can build that. That's total project cost, building the site, FF&E, which is the furniture, fixtures, furnishings, and equipment.
And so that could be all included in and then possibly financed. We'll have to go for financing, but that includes the telecommunications, security, because we'll be interested in that, security as well.
And some of the locations we're looking at would need to be, they're below the floodplain level, so we would have to have some, in some cases, 4 to 5 feet.
Either fill or
I think all the
piers.
areas, every area, Ms. Keisha can speak to that.
Yes, they're all below floodplain.
Okay.
So, aren't they all at the same base flood level?
They are, but we don't know what the base, what they're sitting at right
Yeah.
now. We don't have a benchmark.
Have a total on them.
yet.
Okay, so that'll be a big question up front, whether to provide fill or to have piles or piers, which.
I don't think they'd be that high, but they'd need some foundation.
Like Commissioner Allen said, about 4 to 5 feet on some places wouldn't.
Above natural grade?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
You might could use a mixture of both.
Mhm.
And even this site is at the same base flood, is that correct?
We're right, we've had a topo done on this and it's sitting at 12 and it needs to go to 15, so 3 feet.
Is Russell going to weigh in on whether, which property you need to, or he'd recommend, or make a recommendation based on?
I think we're gonna have to look at his presentation and then I think we'll have to decide what's gonna be the best.
Okay, because
Economic.
that could greatly help your budget
Yeah.
concerns, whether you, one side or the other. so.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we are on budget.
Okay. I think I have what I need today to build a proposal together to present to you. I don't know if there's input from others that are present today that we'd like that, for us to incorporate into these buildings. I mean, we do schools and lots of public community involved projects, and one of the things we always like to do is make it a group effort. So I'd like to leave it open to anyone to provide their comments. There's nothing that is at all fixed about what we're seeing today. It's simply a floor plan that happens to be close by that you like, and that's great. We're happy to listen to any comments. Are there any today? And it also won't be the last time you see us, so. Yes, ma'am. Probably do this way.
I'm Tamara Allen, and part of an advisory group to the city, the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership. But I guess I'm really speaking today from my own personal point of view. As I understood, you could just say that you didn't want the little bump outs on the building, that you wanted the building to be more square. And I was just hoping that it would still have character to it. I mean, it seems to me that it's things like the little bump outs that give it character. And in our attempt to be frugal, we deserve an attractive city hall, and I just hope that we can figure out a way to add things to it or not take away things that are gonna make it be attractive and everything. And then I believe it goes without saying, but I would just not be myself if I couldn't say this. It's important that it meet the ADA requirements for people to work here as well as participate in public meetings. So I'm sure that you know that, but
That's mandatory.
well, it is mandatory, but you'd be surprised at how many new buildings right here in the county don't meet the ADA standards, so. But I'm sure you guys know how to do that.
Absolutely, and that's on us to provide.
And we wouldn't want to build something that would stop someone from getting a job in the future. And that might also hinder our grant opportunities if we don't have a facility that's ADA accessible. That's very important.
I'm spending a lot of time retrofitting their old buildings, so we just want to get it right. But give it some character, we're a bunch of council of characters, we need a city hall with character.
Thank you. your points are appreciated. As the director of design, that's my job to make sure that no matter what basic ideas we have about the building, that we make sure that it's something that's attractive for everyone who's using it.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, I'm Steve Allen. I'm also speaking as a citizen. I'd like to reiterate her point and consolidate things here.
I can't hear you.
I would like to talk about the accessibility piece. There's one piece to make a code accessible. There's another idea is to make it so that everyone can walk up a ramp. So it doesn't have to be a feature that you add on to make it accessible, but rather it can be integrated with the path that everyone is allowed to take into the building, so that a subtle difference in terms of the approach of the ADA compliance, so that it feels like you're not a 75 citizen using a ramp. Okay.
Around the back.
Around the back,
Absolutely.
right. So
We moved away from that.
It's an approach, it's a subtlety. You can meet the ADA in different ways, but that approach is the one that's preferred. I would just also iterate what Tamara says. One of the things that we're trying to do here, I think economically, is to get people to stop along the way in terms of where they're going. And part of our economy, not all of it, is going to be based on tourism. And one of the reasons that people stop here now is because this town is different from every other town. And I've been in many towns who look back and regret some of the decisions they made 30 or 40 years ago in terms of their utility properties like city halls and fire departments and things. And so if there is a way, especially with the siding of the building and making it look more old in terms of the way it presents itself close to the sidewalk edge, a more urban type of environment, those kind of old ways of doing things will blend nicely depending on where it's sited. If it's sited away from the center of town, that becomes less important, right? The parapet wall, which is a feature of this community, especially in the downtown area, can be incorporated into any building, including one like that. So you could have a very simple, inexpensive parapet front wall that presented a facade that would help it blend into the others. And those are some thoughts. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you, Steve.
As someone who lives in Pensacola and got engaged my wife in Apalachicola, I appreciate all that old Florida and this coast has to offer very, very much. Others? Okay. Shall we move on to the next item? Is there are there any questions that anyone has of us? We're really at the beginning.
Have
So.
any questions to staff? Mr. Hartman? Okay. Commissioner?
No, I appreciate what he said.
Okay.
I think I couldn't think of anything else to go in
For now, you were.
for now anyway.
All right.
But there would be, some modifications down the road that could be made if necessary, so we always leave that door.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
yes.
haven't, nothing's engraved in stone today.
Absolutely not.
That's
No,
right.
It's just for us
Just
to
scratching the
download
surface.
information for us. Well, thank you very much.
And then and thank you.
And I'll stay here and see how the discussion goes as well.
Okay, because we've got several, we've got people lined up that want to sell us this and do that, and we'll just move forward. And we've already, on item 2, and we're going to have a presentation by Mr. Jim Waddell of Inovia to include the architectural floor plan placed on alternate locations as previously directed by the city commission, and no action will be taken. Now, we did review the Tamara Allen Park location, and if we could review that briefly. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and we discussed that at our, I'm just going to go ahead and talk while you pass those out to speed things along. We discussed the Tamara Allen Park location in depth at our last city commission meeting. And just to review that again briefly for the public knowledge and to refresh our memories. And then we'll move on to the Bragdon Property location at Highway 98 and the corner of Northeast 12th Street. And then to the Carrabelle Plaza location there on Highway 98, right next to our post office between Highway 98 and Avenue B. Avenue A.
scroll down a little bit. Okay, that's the Tamara Park site. Okay, so, yes, so for purposes of introducing myself, it's been a long time since I've been to Carrabelle, so Jim Waddell with the Inovia Consulting Group. I am Russell Large's business partner at Inovia. Russell apologizes profusely for not being here this afternoon. After this meeting was scheduled, the Department of Transportation scheduled an oral presentation for us in Chipley on a project that we submitted a letter of interest on at DOT. And he just texted me a minute ago and said it takes 2 hours to get here, and I said, just go ahead and head east instead of south. So we do apologize for him not being here. We did go over a few of the details for each of these sites, so I'll try to go through those and share some thought about each of them. The order that Mayor LaPaz had outlined them is the order that I had them on the worksheet that I went over with Russell. And I would say that they're in no particular order for me of preference or recommendation. I'm just going to maybe talk about some observations today on the parcels, not necessarily pros and cons, but things to think about as we move forward with developing a master plan for the City Hall campus and things that may affect the, at this planning level, altitude affect the cost of the project. So this is the old Waterworks site on Avenue C. It's really just west of the Sands Park project. We've got two layouts that were discussed. One that acknowledges the old Waterworks building and leaves it intact. One that proposes that building would be demolished and the campus or the site would be shifted to a little further to the west. As has been discussed, I think all of these properties in one way or another are affected by 100-year floodplain. The new flood maps that were adopted by the county in 2014. Now, in almost every case, the floodplain elevation went up, even on ground that you would think would never flood. So that's a regulatory document. It's adopted by the county. It's part of the permitting process, so we can't just ignore that. So we have to be cognizant of the floodplain. I think that this particular site arguably will be the lowest site in terms of elevation that we talk about today. And by reading the flood map correctly, it's pretty accurate. Probably 4 to 5 feet of fill might be required on this site in order to 4 to 5 in order to put the finished floor elevation above the floodplain. Other aspects of this site which we'll need to consider is along the eastern portion of it, which is adjacent to 3rd Street, or the 3rd Street frontage. A portion of that property might map regulatory wetlands. So we want to be cautious of that. Wetlands, if they were present on the site, would increase the cost of development of it from the standpoint of wetlands resource permitting, possibly removal of undesirable material, muck, so that, and then backfill with clean fill might affect the foundation costs of the building, depending on the soils that are there. So we just want to be aware that there may be a wetlands impact on that piece of property. And again, the other thing that I did mention is that we talked about but whether or not the Waterworks building was to remain or be removed. So the third slide, or the third plan, is
I have a question about the Tamara Park.
okay.
So there would be, we would have to remove some trees to use that.
Yes.
Okay, and then what about the sand dune, the foot of the sand dune that's in this area? Would some of that have to be impacted?
I don't think that we're looking at encroaching into the toe of slope of that dune by more than a couple of feet. And that would be with parking, not with the building itself.
So just the toe of it.
Right, the bottom of the slope.
Does anyone have any more questions? And then I will throw in too that Mr. Large mentioned that it would be about $250,000 for site development, $250 for site development on that side.
And a lot of that would, a great portion of that would probably be the fill. So these two must be connected. Is there a separate file on that thumb drive?
I hope they're all in order.
Okay, they're all.
And then does anyone have questions of Mr. Waddell then regarding the Tamara Allen side? Anyone from the public? Ms. Tamara Allen does.
It's only
Surprise, surprise.
I was just wondering if anyone considered not putting it on a square there, but putting it at an angle. When I drive up 98 into town, when you get to that hill, you're looking right into that property, and if it faced an angle in there, it just seems like it would be more attractive. Plus, it's a higher level up on the hill down there, but I just wondered if that was a feasible possibility to put it not into the sand dune, but just on that higher level there. But there's also less trees there.
My answer would be that all things are possible. I mean, I believe that when it comes to situating the building on site, what we have illustrated here, really the building, because the program is still being developed, I mean, it's really just a placeholder. And I think based on the feedback that Russell received, we, again, also place held X number of parking spaces around the building. So all of those features, site features, just like the floor plan, all of those site features can be changed or amended or modified as we go through the process.
And we don't want to sell ourselves short on future expansion. And
Right.
you know, we might not be able to expand here or say build another building, a community center with it, or commission chambers in the future if we have to go back into the sand dune too much.
Right.
You know, we don't want to hurt the integrity of the dune. So keep that in mind, expansion.
Okay, so
It's a side issue, but there's been talk about using that hill as like a natural walkway for nature growth, just for relaxation and give some place. That's not anything we can do. That hill that's been there a long time. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's been moved for fill dirt down on the other end. We want to protect that. I know some local folks do. Sure.
okay. Scroll to the Bragdon parcel. Okay, the Bragdon parcel, and I'm gonna have to ask for a little bit of clarification, here. This one's on 98 at or near the corner of 12th Street East. So the clarification that I need is the portion of that corner that is sort of cleared, is it being considered, or is it an out parcel to the parcel that you're looking at?
That is the park.
This is all of it, including the hard corner.
That L should be shifted down.
Shifted east, okay. Okay, so that's an error on our part as far as the map goes. So this property is, if you looking at the map, it has elevations of ranging the high portion in the 12 to 14 range. There are some low areas to the western portion of it. Its shape, if you will, is, is a little, it would kind of suggest that orientation of your building and parking would be long ways on 12th Street as opposed to fronting 98, depending on how we laid the parking out. I think this site would require, if we took the floodplain maps at their face value, less fill than the Tamara Park site. So we just need to be cognizant of the low area to the west. Also, because that site fronts 98, that would be, if we proposed a driveway entrance off of 98, we may have trouble getting far enough away from the intersection of 12th Street. Might be a little bit difficult to accomplish, so probably in all likelihood, any and all entrances would be off of the side road. Few trees probably to be removed here, fewer to be removed than would be at the Tamara Park site.
So just to make it clear then to the audience, this outline, this is actually just a lot outline that you have, but it needs to be moved down.
Shifted to the corner.
Okay, so I'm disappointed that I don't see, you have for the other two presentations placed the footprint of the building and possible parking, but I'm disappointed that I don't see it on this.
Yeah, and I think the reason that probably doesn't appear, and again, is an error on our part, Mayor, I think Russell thought that was the parcel, and because so much of that property is in that low-lying area, he thought that it might not be feasible to pursue. We can certainly round back up after this meeting and make those corrections.
Can you say now, do you think it would be feasible to pursue that, to even go to that next step, or?
I mean, I think that, if you look at these footprints relative size, I mean, the acreage does appear there to be available to put at least as much additional impervious area as we're showing on the third site on that parcel, with the little room to grow. Again, I think the growth pattern there would be to the north.
Where does the creek go across there?
In the tree line.
Yes, please, okay, and this is Miss Beth Barber.
The lot goes all the way down here, it goes like this.
Right.
To here, and then it has a small piece right here, and then there's two lots over here. It's a little over an acre. This elevation on this is 20 feet. So if you had to bring any fill, it might be inches rather than feet. There's a creek that comes through the trees, it's right up in here.
Right.
So it's off of that property altogether.
You mean base flood elevation, or the
Yeah.
property is sitting at?
The elevation of the property is 20 feet above sea level already.
Because this map's showing it at 12 feet.
And that's
I don't
based
have the
on-
survey with me, but I have a survey from Thurman, and he has it on there.
Elevation 1. You're well in zone X, then, if that's the case.
The one we have, it's an old survey, but that just shows the base load, and that's old. She gave you a new one, right? Yes. That's on X, so you want. That's on X. I just don't see how it can be said that's 20 feet.
This is, I put my records and it's on in my file, so you can pull it up. This is the survey.
Is that this one? That's not X anymore. This is old. That's not X anymore. That was before the map change.
While they're looking at their maps, I just need to go ahead and bring this out because we'll be discussing budgets and monies later in the workshop. The Tamara site is owned by the city, and there would be, of course, it's got a lot of funding associated with the site development, but the site would not have to be purchased by the city. And then this site that we're looking at right now is being offered at $50,000. Am I correct? It's being offered at 50. So we need to, all of these options need to be weighed, plus a tremendous amount of other options that we'll discuss. So, ladies, may we move forward, or?
I do have some confusion, because I thought the site was next to the road path.
It is.
That's what Ms. Barber just
Yeah,
explained.
well, that's why we got it up here, so is this line not right?
That outline of the property is not correct.
Okay, so this
It is a hard corner.
down here.
Yes.
Okay, I know that, boy, that helps.
But what we may need to do is ask them, but we'll decide that shortly. Do we want them to go back and replace this where it needs, the actual outline of the property, replace it where it needs to be? And do we want them to place the footprint of the building with the parking lot on this property? I think we need to hear out everything we have today and then make our decisions later. We may not want to pursue it, or we may want to. $50,000 is something to keep into mind. That's affordable.
One comment, deliberations of these sites. As an architect, one of the most important things you can do is pick where you want to put your building. So I would suggest that if we aren't already doing this, that we be involved with them in the presenting you with the materials you need to make a decision about which piece of property to pursue. Because it goes beyond, well, is the building on there the 5,500 square foot size?
More or less. Yes.
Okay, more or less. You don't want to, what may be the low-hanging fruit may be not in your best long-term interests. So we want to make sure that we advise you judiciously in that regard. I would also say, as you're talking about one of the old Florida communities, that you don't underestimate your historic assets, whether that's trees or dunes. I like the conversation about buildings being close to the road and not set back, like Dollar Generals and things like that. So I would just say that we'd be more than happy to work with you in laying out, not just in a block fashion, but actually perhaps proceed with a little bit better idea what the building might look like and what the parking might look like as we evaluate the sites, if that's feasible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just one comment about spending money for something. One of the age-old adages is, money, you got to determine what value you're getting in exchange for it. And sometimes, I think as John Ruskin said, if you pay too much for something and it doesn't do what you want it to do, you may lose everything. But it'd be better to pay a little bit more and get what you really need in a function. And that's been a guiding principle every now and then in my life. But it's very important that we think in terms of what are we getting for this.
Exactly, 1,000%. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
I got it right here.
Okay, so the third parcel,
Okay, then we move on to the Carrabelle Plaza parcel.
Carrabelle Plaza parcel, which is
Butler Property, Caldwell, sorry.
is downtown. It's on Tallahassee Street. So it's sort of nestled between and behind the post office and the fire station. And the property extends north to Avenue A, behind the pavilion that's on the corner there.
I'm sorry, point to something, point to a particular thing.
This is Tallahassee Street right here. That's the post office right
Oh,
there.
okay.
That's the fire
Fire
station.
station.
And here's the building.
Yep.
Oh, so that's not parking that's there now, it's parking that would be there.
Right. And again, these are just placeholders that show the possibilities of housing or locating the size building that you're talking about, requisite number of parking spaces that have been discussed, a couple of different entrance driveways, and the opportunities that are there. Of course, you know, all of these things get figured out, as Michael pointed out, once the program of the building becomes clear, where your entry points, there are multiple entry points probably in this case, separate one for the storefront of City Hall, separate one for the police station. And so, you know, we'll work together and figure the finer points of that out as we move forward. This property is, according to our topo maps, is around the same elevation roughly as the site we were just looking at with Bragdon Property, so around 12 or 13. And I believe as a rule, the floodplain elevation there is a couple of feet higher than that. I would like to point out one thing that we can certainly examine moving forward. You know, these maps, the new floodplain maps, were developed in a very comprehensive manner based on a huge model, hydrologic model that was undertaken by FEMA or a consultant working for FEMA. And we've been successful in the past in taking, and they don't always look at individual site data, right? Or point site data when they're drawing these floodplain lines. So it may be possible on one of these sites or one or more of these sites to illustrate to FEMA, you know, you're saying that we're in a flood zone, the flood zone suggests we're gonna have to build up 3 or 4 feet. In actuality, our elevations are higher than you estimated they were. And so we can exact that out of the floodplain zone with what's known as the LOMA process, letter of map amendment. So as we move forward and narrow down a site, if that's an opportunity to help reduce the overall site cost by showing or illustrating to FEMA that we're really not in a floodplain, then we can look at doing that.
How accurate are the topographical maps of the county that are done, I think, from CPS?
You know, a lot of times they're within a foot. We rely on them for planning purposes, but we never undertake a project like this, or we never undertake a project where we're talking about a LOMA submittal to FEMA without having actual hard survey data tied to the vertical data.
Good.
So,
We don't accept that either, it has to come from a licensed surveyor.
and it's real important, I mean, to the point of, you know, not if, or not necessarily if you're gonna have a ramp, but, you know, where they are. I mean, we don't, you'd like to avoid having a field of switchbacks in the prominent entrance to the building, if you don't have to have that.
But ultimately, the purpose of this is for safety and for preservation of your investment.
Right. Right. Trust me, lived in the swamp, you know, right on in the river floodplain where the house flooded twice in 3 months. Not fun.
To help with reduce insurance costs
Exactly.
overall.
Exactly.
You know, there's the one.
Mr. Cliff Butler is here today. This is the time we would like for you to speak, because we need to know exactly what property you might have for offer and what you might want to offer it for.
I'm Cliff Butler.
It's not on.
Which way you turn it up?
Up.
I'm Cliff Butler. My brother and I do own this property. We own some other property I wanted to talk to you about. Going back to what he was saying, when they remap the county, every step of the way, I argue with them about problems in Carrabelle they need to take care of. And it has caused citizens a lot of problems. This whole area is not properly mapped right now, so I think that would lead into his argument that you could get along with Ford. Because that whole section, my information is AE 14. And the ground elevation appears to be about 12. I don't know that. We don't have a hard survey in hand, you know, all that. But this whole thing is new to me. This is the first time I've seen this. David was mentioning 1 acre. That looks like you're taking the whole 2 acres.
We honestly didn't know. We just directed to have the footprint put on this vacant property. We have no idea what you're offering, what you're asking for it. We know nothing, and so that's what we would like for you to tell us today. Even, is it up for sale?
It is up for sale. We've been trying to decide which realtor to replace it with. Give me a minute. Our idea is we have that 2 acres and 10 lots. We've kind of held that for the future of Carrabelle, that we felt like it was a large parcel of economic development is important. We'd always looked at that parcel as CRA property for future economic retail development. And the 10 lots behind it, which is in a non-flood zone, is part of it. But, you know, work for the city on anything you want. I'm just not in a position to throw a price out. I have 2 brothers, and obviously we must not talk enough that I was not aware of how far along this was till last weekend. We would offer it to sell. We would work with y'all. My hopes have been to talk to you about the 10 lots, because it is at 14 feet right now.
And now what 10 lots is that?
It's on the corner of what's that Second Street is what, there's 4 little buildings there.
Okay.
Behind the vine. That whole block we own. It is about 14 feet. The very front of it is in a, what's known as a 2% zone, which is almost equivalent to an X zone, not an AE zone. It would not need much fill on the front part. Again, you need some fill on the back. But, you know, we would be more agreeable to a total price on everything. Part from CRA, part from the city, but if the city wants to look at this piece first.
So that, you want to sell the 2 acres?
2 acres.
And 10 lots?
And 10 lots.
Altogether?
Yes. And we felt like the 2 acres gave value to the 10 lots, so if we sell the most valuable piece first, it would be harder to sell the next piece. And I just really thought for retail, for commercial activity in the city of Carrabelle, that site was better for, you know, that use. And the 10 acres, the 10 lots was developed for public facilities, and that's not on 98. But like I said, we're open, we really have not had time to talk about this. We were talking Monday with David, he got a call, emergency happened to school, he had to drop what he was doing and go out to school to start substituting, so we have not put a price on it.
Have the 10 lots in the back, now that includes the 4 little
Yeah.
buildings. So if we were to consider the 10 lots in the back for,
You have
which we
service
have,
houses. over-
yes, sir, we have to demo those
Demo,
houses.
yeah.
So that would be a cost, the cost of the land and then the cost of the demo.
But we're open, but we need time to sit down and think about a price.
Let me just ask the commission, are you all interested in, first of all, the CRA cannot purchase land to put public facility.
We're aware of that.
I'm just reminding everybody of that, and the public too. So are you all interested in purchasing these 2 acres and 10 lots as a whole unit? I mean, we need to know that before we move forward anymore. I didn't know anything about this.
That property right here will be more valuable than we will have funds to build a city hall and buy this property, in my opinion. I know that they're gonna want a pretty price for this piece of property.
It's prime property.
And I just don't think we can build a city hall and buy the property too. Because it's a prime piece of property, that's the reason it's gonna demand a prime price.
And
I just don't think we're gonna be able to afford the both.
I know, and we all need to keep in mind that we have to, no matter what happens, where we build, what we do, we will have to demo this site, which we've got, Courtney and I both got estimates, rough estimates, at $250,000, and that did not include the gym. So we're looking at 250 to 300 costs, no matter whatever we do, no matter what. If we move to a hotel room, we're still got 250 to 300,000 to demo this building.
Is this a planted roadway through here? You know,
No, it's,
an alley or,
No, it's not.
it's not?
No.
Okay.
it is just 2 acres all. It was 4 point something acres, and the bank got built on half of it, and this is what's left of it. But like I said, we're very open and probably more agreeable this time, but one thing to keep in mind, we've held that property roughly 50 years, waiting on the right, maybe wrong that year, 40 years, the right opportunity to sell it. So you just correct, it is prime land, but we're in a mood to get out of the real estate business.
Do you have any just estimate what you want for it? Just ballpark figure?
Not really. Because what I've learned in real estate, once I throw a figure out, if the city doesn't take it, then everybody in the market says, oh, they'll take so-and-so for
It's your
it.
property, I respect that.
And like I said, I got 2 brothers, and since we had not had time to throw a number out. But, like I said, we gotta have some idea, what range.
We have a lady in the back with her hand up.
Thanks.
Mr. Butler, would you and your brothers be willing to quote the city a price on this acreage and the 10 lots, but also a separate price on each of those parcels? I know you would like to sell them all together, but those 10 lots might be sufficient for the city's needs and not need as much site development. And that might actually prove to be a desirable place for them.
If I understood you correctly, yes, we would be more than willing to quote a separate price on the 10 lots, separate from the 2 acres. And we're more willing to sell 10 lots by itself than we are to sell 2 acres by itself. But everything at the price, and we're ready to get rid of some property. And we have to spend our time out there mowing it, picking up trash, keeping it clean. So I mean, we're I think more agreeable than we were 5 years ago. I'll tell you that.
Okay, let me ask the commissioners, are you all interested in the 10 lots? I don't know exactly where they are. Do we happen to have a city floor plan? I know we've got a city map that we can take a look at, or do you have it up so we can all see? Are you all interested in that? Of course, it would have site prep with demo of the 4 buildings. And let's see what she has here.
This is stormwater runoff line.
what is this now? What's all that?
That's just the flood zone area.
Uh-huh. Where is the holding pond you were talking about yesterday?
It's back
Does it
here.
encroach on
It's
that?
back here.
Uh-huh. And that's city property back there.
That's the street.
And is that a whole block or more than
That's a whole block.
Oh. So that's a
While
whole,
we're looking at
that's a
that,
whole
you have,
block.
we have a drainage system coming down through there. Where's that on this, you know?
We've been told that drainage system has been abandoned. The drainage system that's there goes right down the property lines. So
Over here.
Yeah, it follows the property line.
So that would, that's gonna take some tree clearing from what I can see. Okay, tree clearing.
So if I'd known this moved this far, I would have brought that up earlier, but I wasn't aware of it until I was going to David.
Well, I'll tell you, and this was gonna be later in the conversation, we have not even approached, how to get funding, so we're not moving next week. We haven't been to a bank, and it's not gonna happen overnight. We're trying to move forward. It's a slow and methodical process.
In answer to your question, if you're interested, I can't say that I'm interested, but I can't say I'm not interested, so I don't want to keep, drop the ball before we get a hold of it.
Are you interested in the 10 acres in the back, 10 blocks in the back?
That's what I just said.
You don't know
I
if you
can't,
are?
yeah, I'm saying that I can't say I'm not interested.
Okay.
Now, you can interpret that to mean, let's keep it on the burner. Not that I'm interested in it, but you know what I'm saying?
What about the
What
rest
we got
of
here
you?
is a fact.
I'm sorry, I think it was on your agenda, but
I do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I understand
Yeah, I
what you're
don't
saying.
want-
But do you all
I don't
want?
want to close the door on it, that's what I'm saying.
Well, then do you
What
want
is
him
the
to
width
come back
of
with a
those
price?
What is the width, the depth of?
Depth,
I,
usable.
Carrabelle are 56 by 116 or something.
Usually 56 by 97 and a half.
97 and a half depth.
Normally, I haven't looked at these, but the most city lots are.
I think you're trying to get an estimate on it, aren't you? Looks like she's trying to get a little drawing on it from the website there.
You've got the lot, and by buying the whole block, you can close the alley off, since you'd be using it all yourself, so. Think of that next week. But we were open, I just didn't really have time to throw a number out, because I didn't know exactly what was, what y'all were looking at.
Well,
Let's just get some more information on it.
are you all interested at all in it? Would you like him to come back with a price? He could let Ms. Courtney know for the price on that 10 blocks. And then if it's something that we think might fit into our budget, we could see if the floor plan or whatever floor plan we choose to fit on that.
I'd like to know what we're getting for our money.
Well, yeah, we need a
Well,
map.
we're gonna have another workshop, right?
I would think. I think it's
Maybe
gonna
when you
be.
come back, you'll have a surprise.
I have more information, like I said.
You might come back wanting $1 million. I don't know.
Well, it won't be anywhere near that.
Well, anywhere not near that, still a lot of money. We got to build a city hall. Yeah. Well, we would like for you to come back and bring us, what you want for it, but
I'll be more than happy to.
right now, it looks like it's just gonna be too expensive.
I could probably tell you.
Reach your floor plan in.
The problem, you said prime real estate. Prime real estate demands prime price.
Well, we have worked with the city in the past, but it won't be as cheap as the 12th Street property. The main thing is whether you want to be downtown on the edge of town.
And it won't be free like some property that we already own.
We own some, we've had some offered to us at a bargain price,
I know.
Okay.
We
well-
won't have that much of a bargain, but we will try to prepare it.
All right, and
sir.
then,
We appreciate it.
okay, thank you, and we need to move forward, then we have Mr. Mellinger that would like to.
Mayor, I'd just like to make one comment, in my opinion. I think you should explore this option. Mr. Butler and his brothers. Exploring an option and having discussions with them doesn't commit the city to anything. It's just a learning process to find out whether you're going in that direction or where you aren't going in that direction.
We left it open for him to tell us what he's wanting for what we're getting.
And I think that you wouldn't have to wait till the next meeting. I think that Mr. Butler, if that's him and his brothers, could actually contact the mayor or the city manager before the next meeting and discuss issues, just as other properties had to come to you before your workshop. But I definitely think you should explore that option.
Okay, and I do too, really. I think if they want to come back and Ms. Gathana mentioned, bring a price for the whole unit, and then two separate prices. And then that way we can also have a better idea of how the 10 blocks are situated.
And that would include pricing on this option here, right? That's not out of the question.
No, it's not out of the
I
question.
mean, that's still something you want to see.
We just, yes, okay, so I think I said to bring a price for the whole unit. Price for this 2 acres, and then a price for the 10 blocks. Okay. All right, so then I'm just going to say real quick, I don't want you to rule out the fact that we do have this current site right here. Although it's been mentioned that we are going to have to move from here, we can stay here, and I believe that it can be negotiated. What are the acres here? 5 or 7? What's the acres that came with the purchase agreement?
5.97.
So just about 6 acres we have here that already belong to the city. And I'm going to remind you again that City Hall is going to have to, this building will have to be demoed once it's vacated. So but that is a cost. That's the first number 1 cost that's going to happen. And we have, as Courtney just said, right at 6 acres, and there's the plan there, the blueprint of this location. So I don't want that to be ruled out at this point. So then we're going to move on to item 3, review of additional and new proposals recently presented by members of the public, and we've got that divided out into 2 sections where we'll have new recently proposed by GUSC, and then any other proposals from folks that are here in the office, in the workshop today. And I actually have a proposal myself because I am a citizen as well as mayor. So let's listen to the preliminary review with brief discussion of new GUSC proposal to sell their headquarters building, Old Gulf State Bank building. And no action is going to be taken on that. But if we could just have some information.
Actually, I have some handouts if anybody needs any handouts.
They might want some. We've got one here. Don't we have a full color one? And then Courtney,
Get it up, I don't have,
Let me,
oh,
I don't have that program.
Courtney, if you go to open with,
I don't have enough for everyone in the room, but I have.
you can open it with other things if you.
Y'all share. I got one. There's each one.
we have one.
Commissioner has one. Anybody out here would like to have one? One more left. Okay. And if you need anything, you can always come by our headquarters, take a look at the building, and I'll give you some. Good afternoon. My name is Bruce McCormick, CEO of Gulf One Man Systems Center. We offer our headquarters building up, I think about a month ago, to the city manager. It was our asking price was $715 for the building, which is.
I think that offer came in on November the 4th.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Whatever
today's
that was.
17th.
Yeah, I think it was too long. But anyway, we've got about, it's 9,596 square feet per floor, and the.
I don't think your mic's on. We should, there you go.
Better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, it's the total, it consists of 9,595 square feet per floor, and we have, for you have all been in there, it's a former bank building. It has a great interior, needs a little TLC, but that's not a problem. It sits on about 1.9 acres, fronting Highway 98. In front of the building, we have a large area that actually doubles the area that the building sits on. So, I think, in my opinion, it's a great building. It's downtown Carrabelle, if you will, fronting the river. People pass by it on Highway 98. Like I said, it has a large grassy area in front of it. And it goes all the way, from basically the parking lot at the library to, actually it joins the part of the Butler property. So the Butler and the property that Mr. Butler was talking about behind it, the 10 lot, sits directly behind the headquarters building. And then there's a large lot adjoining. It has more square footage than I understand that what you all need, but it's square footage that can be rented. The upstairs and downstairs are separate buildings for all intents and purposes. There's not an inside stairwell. It's all outside. It's handicap accessible downstairs. Upstairs, we'd have to put in a lift for that reason. We have 70 parking lots, paved parking lots. We have an outside teller line that can be used for something. Might even could be used for the police station. So, since the police station uses it all the time anyway, they're always sitting there in our telephone. So, anyway, we'd like to, for y'all to consider it. We want to keep the building just to the west of it, because we need curb appeal to Highway 98 for our customers coming in. We have a lot of people in the area. So when you're looking at the handout, it's already it's designed out to show you where the office spaces are, the square footage, the bathrooms, the lounges. It actually has the teller line still in place. If we took the teller line out, that would be a seating area for 50 folks. And it still allows you to have the area, a little bit closer to the public, where you all sit for your meeting. We have a large lobby. You can see that it's not in color, but you can see what we have in the lobby actually today. We have, like I said, auditorium seating for 50, commission meetings in the lobby, 7 administrative offices, large conference room, a walk-in vault, if that can serve you.
Where's your auditorium?
Right, it would be in the lobby. As you walk in the double doors into the lobby, where the teller line is, it would be on your right-hand side. The teller line would be removed, and you can put in right at 50 chairs like this. And actually, the chairs are set up now just to make sure that we can do that with plenty of walk-through room.
We don't have a floor plan you don't have a floor plan that the public can see.
I can send you one.
No, I just wanted the public to see it today.
Bruce, these cubicles here that used to be teller places, are they permanent or are they just add-on? If they were.
The teller lines, sir?
These are, what used to be the, you know.
Well, I mean, they're permanent to the floor, but we would have to, they would have to be removed. We've removed the.
They could be removed.
Well, they can be removed, because we've already removed part of them that were in the back. And they were secured the same way, and we got them over in the operation.
And I was by there the other day, and I mentioned the fact that this is big enough square footage that, there could be those folding doors like they have in some of the hotels and the conference rooms.
Sure.
They could block it off and make a smaller space.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. And besides, behind that teller line, there's another wall where the, where the bathrooms are, the lounge. We have a large lounge and a couple more offices and a server. So there's, so it's quite a bit of area there. It's well designed to begin with. And then, of course, in the front, if we wanted to look at future buildings, well, you could put a larger building just in front of, behind the teller line, where the existing teller line is now, on that grassy area, putting another probably 16,000 square feet there, as well. Plus, you already have a drive-in parking, and, like I said, the parking, we have 7 states.
I'm a little bit confused because when you came to us to renegotiate the lease on the Hexport Green Steel building, you mentioned that, and actually Commissioner Allen asked you if you didn't have the Hexport building, would you remain in Carrabelle? And you said yes, you would remain in Carrabelle. You would still remain in these GUSC headquarters buildings. And now I'm confused.
Well, we have options. That's always a good thing to have an option. So we knew that we have done extensive renovation and building inside the operations center of Hexport. So we built another 4,000 square feet in there of offices and conference rooms and that type of thing, plus besides the machine shop and other areas. Plus we have another 50,000 square feet to expand in there. Plus, on top of that 4,000 square feet of admin, we built it where we can double.
Okay, but I was just confused that you said you would stay in this.
Well, that's why I said we wanted to have that other building, so we have a presence on Highway 98.
Okay, all right.
I mean, to me, that's important.
So now I looked at it online, and I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and look at it online too. You said there's 9,500 square feet per floor.
Yeah. It's 84 feet, it's 83 feet by 53.
And online it says that it's 9,254 square feet total, which is about 4,500, I just say 4,500 square feet.
First floor is 83 wide, that fronts Highway 98. Second side is 53. So that's up and down.
That's 4,399.
Per floor. Correct.
And then there's a walk-around porch. That includes the walk-around porch. The porch is about 4.5 feet wide. It's covered and it goes around the entire building.
Okay, so what are you asking for this building?
We asked, I believe it was 713. Yeah, it was 713. That came out to about $77 a square foot. And my memory serves me correctly, I think that of our last, when we did our survey, we were at 14 feet. And we have flood insurance, right now. So we were going through, I think FEMA was going through all their manipulations with the flood, the floodplain at that time.
Is there anything else that's associated with the offer on this building? Because the city administrator did receive a letter from you. Is there any other negotiations that is associated with the offer of this building?
The only other part of it is that we want to keep the long building to the west of it, the headquarters building and the library.
Okay, now what was the letter that said that you want to renegotiate the employment requirements on the lease on the Hexport building?
Well, we want to do that, but that's a separate issue. We wanted to do that to begin with. You know,
Okay, all right then, that has nothing, your offer of 713 has absolutely nothing to do with that.
No, but we want to keep this separate then from our other business at the Hexport.
The negotiations, if there were to pursue on this, has nothing to do with the green steel. Because, you know, you offer this building to the public. That has nothing, say if, you know, Miss Pat Bragdon or Miss Robin Hilton want to buy this building, they can't negotiate the Hexport building, and I think that there would be no obligation to renegotiate.
You know, we thought about this hard and long, and we want to keep this a separate.
Okay.
Separate. But we do intend to come in and renegotiate our lease with the Hexport, or we call it the operations zone.
So, when was this building built?
1992, probably Mr. Butler could probably tell you
So
exactly.
then we're basically looking at a 25, 26-year-old metal building with a flat roof. Is that
Yes.
right?
It's a concrete building with stucco.
Right there.
It's, now, Mr. Butler told us that it was a metal building with a stucco facade.
It's a concrete building.
Okay.
With stucco, and it has steel framing throughout.
Okay. There would be definite remodel that would have to be done because there's, you know, the needs for City Hall to function as a City Hall is not, that floor plan is not functional for City Hall and Police Department.
That's all up to y'all.
We would need to put an elevator in for handicap access and so that we could continue to be an equal opportunity employer. You know, we would have to have maintenance. What are the maintenance requirements? I want y'all to consider this. What are the maintenance requirements going to be on the outside of a building like this?
I can tell you what my maintenance requirements are. I go out there and cut the grass.
Okay.
Cut
So,
the weeds.
all right, we'll have to put a generator. Did I mention that? We'll need to put a generator in, and we don't know. Actually, what it would have to before I would say consider anything like an existing building, any existing building in Carrabelle, which we did do some preliminary studies on a Head Start building, and we found out that we just couldn't use that one. We would need a true and accurate breakdown of all the costs. And we would need a professional, independent appraisal first because we can't. Yeah. And we've got to have a professional come in and review it and see what it would cost to remodel it and bring it up to code and to put in a area for water and sewer collections and all the offices, a breakout conference room, commission chambers, evidence room for the police department, a separate entrance and exit for the police department. How will the upstairs be used? We want to have square footage that is, and this, we have all talked about this before, the exact amount of square footage that's needed to function as a city hall, and no more and no less. And we've talked about that, and we've talked about not having extra property that becomes a responsibility to staff to try to manage, to be property managers, and extra property that becomes a burden on the taxpayers to try to heat and air and to maintain. So we need to give that some strong consideration. We need about 5,500 to 6,000 square feet. So we're looking at over 9,000 square feet now, just an additional 3,000 square feet more than we need.
Pardon me, I think we need to look at just the general proposition as we've done all these other things.
Okay.
And when we get to whether we're going to do it or not, then we can review these very things you brought up.
Right,
we don't need to get into all that right now.
But that's what we're here. We're going to review another floor plan shortly. We just reviewed a floor plan in detail from the FWC floor plan. So, but all of this every option would have to be reviewed thoroughly and brought back and presented to this commission.
That's right.
Okay, so, and now there's a $637,000 mortgage on it right now, on that building. I beg your pardon?
No, they're not.
It's paid in full?
No, I think it's paid way down.
Oh, it's paid way down,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So, does anyone have any other questions then? I mean, this is the time, he's here, this is the time, we can put it to the side, we can have him come back and discuss it, but everyone needs to understand that we
Your
will.
building is open for any of our commissioners or public that would like to go out and look at it.
Yeah, it's always open. Unfortunately, we are leaving tomorrow, and we're gonna be down in South Florida for several days, meeting down in Fort Pierce, Florida, for work up here hopefully. So, between now and just after Thanksgiving, we won't be there.
Okay.
But if you wanted to come over this afternoon or tomorrow morning, I just have to leave here by about 11 o'clock to get down.
And I want to remind you that this board instructed me or gave me permission, that you knew that I was going to the school board to make a presentation, and under the guidance of the city administrator and city attorney, I made the presentation and told them that we could not afford any more space than 6,000 square feet. And that is what I told the school board. They understand it, and I've actually, gossip spreads, and we did talk about this offer briefly at our city commission meeting. And a school board member has already mentioned to me that if you move to that, it's a great location, and the nest can move with you to the GUSC location. So I just want y'all to be sure, make sure you understand that. Once you bring a school downtown, you're talking about the 500-foot buffer. So we need to keep that in perspective.
And Dan, would you address that for us, please, the status of that? You've been discussing that with your attorneys.
I mean, it isn't, we had that meeting a couple weeks ago with the school board. I would, my counsel of the commission has always been that if we do not relocate on this site, then the responsibility to maintain space in this building for the nest is not, we can do whatever we want off this site without the requirement that we provide space for the nest. The school board, well, obviously they took a number of different positions during our discussion, and that's all in flux. But the bottom line for the city is only if we're talking about rebuilding on this site or staying in this building, or making the repairs we talked about for this building, or rebuilding on this site, in my opinion, legal opinion, do we have to worry about the nest.
Okay.
And
Sorry, when I say worry about the nest, I mean, we talked about a lot of things. I mean, those are the children of Carrabelle. We want to make provisions and help and work with the school board so that the children have a place to go after school. But as far as the city building a new facility that would have a nest as part of it, or in this scenario here, moving into another building that would have additional space that theoretically we could put the nest in, we have no obligation to do that.
And that is the attorney's opinion, and we have not come to an agreement with the school board yet. So, I guess then we'll move on to the next one. Yes, sir?
Can I correct something?
Okay.
I believe he said he had 70 parking places. So the plat I'm looking at, about 50 of those parking places on the 2 acres we own.
Okay. Well, I mean, that would all have to be hashed out and researched.
Everything from behind the back building to over in front of the long building, I own.
All of this?
No, all of this,
I know
all of that, and all of this,
and there's 70
and
parking.
and these in here.
I'll probably count them.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's 70 or 69, there's a lot of parking.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. We'll move on to B of item 3, preliminary review with brief discussion of new proposals requested by other members of the public, and no action will be taken at this time. So we have Ms. Robin Hilton who wants to present some locations and options, I guess. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Robin Hilton. I live in the community. I think a lot of you know me. I'm a citizen. I pay my taxes here to the city of Carrabelle. And I think it's very important that one of the main things that we consider is cost. And I know that we've been saying it, and I know a lot of people are thinking about it, but I don't know exactly how many people are actually paying their taxes to the city and know really what the burden is for all of us to have to deal with. We're not some huge metropolis. We're not Apalachicola. We're not St. George Island. We're Carrabelle. And I think there's a lot of places for us to be able to expand with what we already have without going into a lot of extra cost to the citizens and paying their property taxes. I know I pay a lot, and I'm sure a lot of other people here do too. Some of the properties I've looked at, I know you guys have too. Harbor Breeze was one property, and I know that it probably needs a lot of renovation. It is in an ex-flood zone, and I think that's important. Another property that is on the market is, here, I don't know if you can put this up. Can you put this up? Okay.
I got it.
One of the other properties was up, and it has been for sale before, and it was a foreclosure. It's back on the market, but that's the little mini mall that's in an ex-flood zone at the top of the hill when you're coming into town from Tallahassee Street. And I know it needs a lot of work, great location, and it has plenty of room in it for all kinds of buildings and to renovate it. And I don't know what the costs are going to be, but I certainly think it should be a consideration.
And I looked at that recently, and we've talked about it before. It's what's he asking for that?
$385 right now.
And it's 10,000 square feet, I believe.
I think it's 11,000. And I think it's a good opportunity to look at something that's already there, ex-flood zone, and you don't have to worry about paying for a lot of the extra stuff for fill or any of the extra costs that we have. As the mayor pointed out, we are going to have to tear this building down. I have no idea what the costs are for that.
250 to 300,000.
Okay, so you've got 300,000 into just doing that. Plus, if you buy land, and then you have to pay for a design, a new building to put it up. I just think you have to look at what all the costs are and go for the best deal. Not just go because it's going to be prettier or it's going to entice people to come to our town. I think it's more important to look at what we can afford, what's going to still look nice, what's, you know, if it's this area, it's a ground level, anybody can get in, any floor. It's not going to require stairs or lifts or anything like that. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm a real estate agent. I can help you guys if you're interested, show you the properties. We can go through it again, but I really think cost is a big thing for our town, and not to go to any extra expense if we don't have to.
Well, one thing about it, with a property like that, you don't have to consider tree removal. Tree removal is a big issue in this area of the world. Right now, the El Jalisco relocation in Crawfordville is put on hold because of 3 trees. They've developed that property there and they can't construct. So, but that's Wakulla County. But we know when we cut down a tree or remove a tree, it's a big issue. So that's going to be a big issue with looking at vacant property.
Well, it's also
385. Is that how many zeros after that?
Oh, yeah, there's a few more zeros. 385,000.
Okay.
385,000. Right.
That's what I wrote down here.
You can see the property appraiser, they have their taxable values 348.5, so it's not too far off the mark what they have it on for their asking price. But anyway, I'm just saying that I'm here as a citizen of the community. I think that we have to be really fiscally responsible to everybody here and not just say, oh, we'd like to have a dream castle when we can't afford it.
And just to be fair to everyone here now, what does it say? Okay, total area, heated space, 9,200 square feet. That's about the same as the GUSC building, heated space. And that's still, just to be fair, I want everybody to understand that that's 3,000 more square feet than we need. And would we fear that the nest would want to come with us there? And what would we do with that extra space? Are we going to become, once again, property management? And then that space that we're going to have to heat and maintain and air condition. So just to be fair, because you know, we were looking at another space that was.
And the other thing is there are other properties that are possible, but again, I'm looking at things such as insurance, flood zone, accessibility, and those things. There are other buildings, but you're looking at having to deal with those issues. Whereas something that's in an ex-flood zone, it's on the ground. It might need a lot of renovations in order for it to be a city hall, and also to provide for the people to be able to access it. You know, there's a lot of opportunity there, and it's a great location.
And that too would require a complete property assessment and an independent appraisal, and what is it going to cost to renovate it and bring it up to code, and so all of these options that we look at, we're going to have to narrow it down a little bit as time goes by, because it could end up costing us a lot of money hiring appraisals and then hiring a professional architect or engineer to go in and let us know what it's going to cost to bring it up to code to operate a city hall, and a police department that needs an evidence room. So do you have any other?
Well,
options?
there's other properties, like I say, that are possible availability. Some of them are not on the market right now, but I would certainly be willing to go ahead and spend some time if the city is interested to see if there's other possibilities of places for you in the downtown area, someplace that would be accessible for everybody to be able to use within our price point, which I have no idea. I don't know what the city budget is. I don't know what the city knows what the city budget is. So, and also getting a loan and then making, paybacks on it. So all of those things should be considered when you're going to be buying a place or building a place. And what is that burden going to be on the citizens of the community to repay?
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you very much, Ms. Hilton. And
thank you, and let me know if I can help you with anything.
Okay, thank you so much. Then I have another one. Since we thought we had decided on a floor plan, but since we were taking other offers now, I've just decided I would like to go over to Sop Choppy City Hall. I've been threatening to do it for a long time, and I called over there myself and made an appointment. And I went over there. I called Miss Courtney. Didn't know I was going till yesterday morning, and I asked her if she'd like to go, and she went along. So I went over there and took quite a few pictures, and they had their floor plan. I took a picture of their floor plan, and I think we'll be able to see that too. That city hall was 4,661 square feet heated, basically 6,000 square feet, including the porches, which are luxury, those covered porches. They're not necessary, but it functions very well as a streamlined city hall for them over there. It has a central area for water and sewer department collections right there in the middle of the building, right there. It has a drive-through window, and as you come in the front entrance, right there is a window that the public can come into and pay their water and sewer bills or take care of any city business. Right there you have a restroom to the right there in the lobby, and a restroom to the left, and then right there to that wing is the commission chambers. And so the public can come in and do their business, whatever it is, including go to the restroom, and not have to come all the way through City Hall or through the police department. There's offices on each wing. There's an office there, that was the administrator's office, the clerk's office is there. And then that's a file room, fireproof behind the clerk, and another file room next to the administrator's office, fireproof. There's a restroom down in this one wing for staff, and an office and a conference room back here. There's 2 offices back on this wing. The other wing includes a huge, right there, break room, and then across from that is another huge, what they call a changing room, and a huge restroom and shower. It's basically that whole side of that wing, but they have, their major thing over there is water. They sell water. They sell water to a large part of Wakulla County, so they operate their water department out of that. That's what they do. They manage the city and operate the water department. This floor plan is very simple, very streamlined, functional. Back in 2009, it cost them $731,000, and that included their outside generator, parking. It's built in a flood area, so they're built up, and it's got retention ponds all around the outside of it. So it would have to take it. You would, it's just a floor plan, but I'm just telling you that's what it costs to get them in there. Did you have pictures? Are there pictures of it? Of the interior courting? Okay, let's run through those real quick so they can kind of have an idea of what is, if you get something new and built to your needs and specifications, where staff can function in it and do their daily business of running the city and managing the water and sewer department is something that's important to all the taxpayers and all the citizens of the community. So let's try to look these pictures right quick.
Mayor?
Yes.
Did you say the size of the building was?
Their floor plan, and I have a picture of their floor plan, 4,661 heated, and then 5,963, which includes the covered porches, which is a luxury for us. Okay.
Sometimes more of the design.
Okay, yeah, I think you have the pictures you have that one. And
don't take that.
which one do you want? Just if you could run through them real quick so they can see the inside, just so they can understand what you can get if you design something to your needs. But I do have a few pictures of the inside that I brought with me. Here's the floor plan, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Allen.
Listen.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
you want to take there's some pictures on the inside.
Yeah, I can see that. That was on the screen.
Oh, there you go. There's a picture on it. She's getting them, I think. Commission chamber.
Just push the arrow button.
Should we turn out the lights?
See an arrow button.
That's for that price, that's an acoustic ceiling, and in that room, up around the commission seating, they have all Ethernet access, and their widescreen TV for demonstrations was not included in that price. They seat 60 people in there, and then there's room, they say if it's necessary, they can add some more folding chairs.
What did you say the price was when they built it?
$731,000.
Some of you folks been around here a long time. Do you have an estimate of what the largest crowd we've ever had in here for? We ever had 60 people?
You know I'm looking at you.
Yeah, that's the question.
We had close to it.
Uh-huh.
They was, what nice here.
That
almost scared me.
Oh, almost.
I had seating for about 60.
There you go. And then I guess if it gets where it almost scares you, you could table the meeting
Oh, yeah.
and find a bigger location next week.
The restroom.
But if you could show the interior where the water collections is or something, that would be up in the next row. Yeah, right there you could.
Frankly, I like this side top
And do what now? Just
audience
click on it.
rather than the long back, because the people in the back, I mean, I get people as close as we can. And even a circular is even better than that.
So this is their interior there, and now what we should go to next.
It won't let me go to the next one. We didn't send it to the side, so you have to go back right there.
Oh.
Ms. Mayor, does that include the land as well as price?
They own the land, and I asked them what did it take to, was there a lot of public input? Did they have a lot of people asking them, to buy their property? And they said no, that they decided to build on their land, and it was a smooth transition when they made that decision. So here's a hallway down one wing, and you have an office here and an office here, where they can see out into the water collections area to help, or, they can, it's transparency, and that's something that we need to keep in mind too. Where's that? Just try to find something. That's the inside of one office. Another office. Conference rooms, if I can see. But, there's a conference room, a breakout conference room. So it's just an example to show you what all of their communications is streamlined, built inside it's the same way at the FWC building. You have everything where there's a problem, your technician can come in and take care of it right away. And I don't believe we have anything like that here at City Hall.
We're doing this in that room.
Yeah, so that makes it easier for maintenance. And a nice break room. Now, I don't believe that we could tolerate that luxury to have a break room quite that large. We would probably go, and this is the other side of it, and storage area. We would have to cut that break room down and make it another office or something, but we would certainly have a break room area, a mail room area for our commissioners and board members. So that just gives you an idea of what you might be able to do. This was, I'm looking for the name of the contractor, the architect. If you think you were interested in something like that, I don't have it with me. But, so that's a presentation. We'll keep that in mind if you all think you're interested in building something that will be to your needs and specifications. I just want to thank the ladies for getting these pictures up here for us, and the maps and everything that we've looked at today. This is a treat for us all. Then we did briefly at our CRA meeting talk about another piece of property that's available at the old pizza parlor area. There's 2 lots there. Remember we discussed that at the CRA. 2 lots right there, and then there's an additional 2 lots that's available next to the hairspray. So there would be there's 4 lots available there if you think, but I don't think that's enough room for parking. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess or longer if we need, and then come back and do our next few items here to see how we're going to move forward, which will probably be here another hour. Okay? We're back in session now, and we're going to item 4, and let's just have a brief review and discussions of all our options up to this point. Once again, no action is going to be taken. I made a quick list here, and y'all weigh in anytime, please. But we have reviewed vacant lots throughout the city, including Tamara Park, city-owned, the Bragdon Property, which I'd like to see that actually
Will be.
put where it needs to be with the floor plan on it. The Butler Carrabelle River Plaza property, I mentioned the Mark Wall property. Back a couple of years ago, we looked at property at 512 Northwest Avenue A and 5th Street, right on Highway 98. We talked about the 2 Gulls property. That's a half block there across the street from Centennial Bank on Highway 98. That building would have to be demolished. And then we need topo maps, and we've certainly talked about this property as well. We've looked at existing buildings. We started back a couple of years ago. We talked about the old Superior Bank, went in it, but it was just way too small. It's 2,200 square feet. We did extensive research on the Head Start building. We looked at the Anchor Realty building. We've talked about the mini mall. We've actually talked about the warehouse building next door to the mini mall. I think Courtney and Keisha went over there and looked in that building first to just give a preliminary review. We've talked about the Harbor Breeze. We've talked about Brenda's Restaurant and the GUSC building. We could throw in the mix the old Rex Theater. That was mentioned to me over the weekend. We haven't discussed that, but it's certainly there and probably available, and we need a true and accurate breakdown of all the costs and from the very beginning, from the independent appraisal to what the annual utility and maintenance costs are going to be. We've talked about the floor plans, the FWC, the Forest Service. We went over to the Forest Service and looked at that. That's a nice building. In fact, I met in there this morning in their conference room with a couple of the officers from the Forest Service. It's workable. I actually think that floor, this is my opinion, I think that floor plan at the Forest Service is more workable than the GUSC building, but of course that building's not available. We would just have to have that floor plan. And then we just looked at the Sock Choppy City Hall floor plan. We've got some options that we need to consider, and one item is not an option, but a must. We must demo this current building no matter what we do. We need storage for Christmas lights and festival items and tents and stuff like that, streets and roads items. We have the Bay building in the back, 11,000 square feet. It's in good condition. It's not a flat roof. It has a gable roof. That building could be remodeled. You know, if we're looking at remodeling a building, it could be remodeled. It could be, I wouldn't suggest to demo that building with the rest of these buildings here. It's in good condition. It could be used for storage for now, as we do use it, and it could be in the future, we could look for funding to make that as some type of a community center of sorts, or put a gym in there or something in the future. And it would last. It's a good building. We have an option to leave and move from this location, the city, but we need storage area. If we move from this location completely and abandon this location, we won't have the bay area for the storage in the back. We won't have the debris management location. We'll have to use the airport. We could move to an existing building, the buildings I just talked about, but they'd all require remodeling. We could build new, energy efficient, built to our needs and specifications for our functional and our operational needs. We could build on another vacant lot, but we'd have to purchase. The only lot that we have that's available is Tamara Park, and I don't know if that's really gonna work out because of the wetlands and the trees and the water plant and the sand dune. we could build on this current site. We don't know that yet, we just have the attorney's opinion. If we build on this current site, we'd have to put staff into temporary offices. But, you know, that's something that we have to do. I don't think we've talked about before extensively looking in the front to build something in the front of this building, let staff move into it and then demo, but there's just not enough room in the front. So, you know, there's options, and do y'all have any other ideas here on this? I think the very first thing we need to do is have a discussion and agreement with the school board. But is there any other, I've tried to review really quick what we have gone over these past 2 years. Does anyone have any input on that? Any input from the public? Yes, sir.
Greg Christopherson, I generally try not to speak with the mayor being a board member, but Tamara, you did stuff. Anyway, I'm just joking. But sitting here listening, and I've been involved in this just from being involved with my wife on a lot of these different things. And personally, I think if you had never moved to the building in the first place, you probably could have saved up some funds and planned on a new building somewhere. You know, it's been a lot of years that you've been here. So, you know, maybe that was not a good move to move here, because now you've got this red herring you got to take care of. I think you're really going to have to deal with the school board and get that settled. I think that's one of the main issues to get this building taken care of. My personal opinion, not my wife's, we don't agree on everything. I think that if you tore this down and rebuilt here, you'd have a brand new state-of-the-art building. And keeping the bus barn or whatever, the building back there for storage would be a great idea. One of the options I think you could do with the school board is if you sat down with them and had some kind of a discussion and come to an agreement, say that the city could use the 3 modular units that are already here that the school board owns. There's a couple of things that need to be fixed in them, but that could be temporary housing for the staff until the building gets built. And then negotiate with them about this field house. Maybe offer them some money. You know, you might have to buy your way out of this thing. Offer them some money to help with the remodel of that field house, and then move the nest over there. Now that it's on school board property, and then in agreement, they would take you off that lease agreement. Have that removed in lieu of helping them with that over there. And it's an additional cost, but you start talking about going around town and buying up an old building and remodeling it to your needs, you're going to be spending a lot of money anyway. So that's just my opinion. There's a lot of them out there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. You kind of you moved forward to our next item a little bit. So, but does anyone have anything else on things that we have reviewed already? Lots, buildings, options. Did I leave anything out?
I think somewhere we're gonna have to narrow this down to like top 3 choices and just knock a lot of this stuff out of it, just get it out of the way, and then make it a lot simpler to decide what we're gonna do.
Right, let me move then to item 5.
Okay.
Suggestions regarding on how to proceed forward, taken from board members, staff, and public. So you say we need to throw
Not necessarily today, maybe
Yes.
the next town hall meeting we have, if we need to get it narrowed down to like 3 choices, whatever those 3 may be, and we can go from there, because the board's gonna have to decide this.
Yes.
We just don't need all these things out there.
Right.
But some of them, I can already see, we're not either not gonna be able to afford them, or they're just not feasible.
And they're
Taking old buildings.
If you'll just wait till we finish our discussion, Ms. Beth.
Y'all see
Okay.
it. So taking these old buildings and rebuilding them, I don't like that idea. I think if we're gonna commit ourselves to $1 million plus, we need to have a state-of-the-art building.
And it's just like Mr. Commissioner Allen said earlier, right on in the meeting, if you're going to spend the money, and spend a little bit more money and get what you need, get something that's going to last you, well, to our grandchildren or adults. So I agree, and I think that we need to, first and foremost, we need to come to some kind of an agreement with the school board. We cannot just all of a sudden put the youngsters out in the parking lot over there, and they've got no place to go. We haven't made arrangements for them, the school board hasn't, and start tearing down this building. And then we can't move off to another building, new or used, and leave them here because we'll have a difficult time evicting them. We will end up supporting this building and another building that the city hall has moved to, whether it's new or used. So we have got to possibly, Mr. Hartman, do you think they would have a roundtable discussion with us, the school board?
I do not. I think we could certainly ask for it, and they might do it. I think, you know, we've had a lot of discussions about this, you know, directly with the school board, among staff, and everything else. The school board is going to take everything we're willing to give them. And if we move from this site, it's my opinion that we do not have to build new space for the nest. We've told them repeatedly and consistently that we will, when we are looking to move City Hall, we move it off site, we will be demoing this building. They're aware of that. My understanding is they are looking at alternative sites, some that we've suggested, some that they are just looking at. They have money to do that historically, and just as a matter of fact, they have funding for the nest. I mean, they pay for the nest. It is a school board responsibility. They recognize that. They've had it good, and we have too. I mean, obviously this hasn't worked out, but in 2008, we shook hands and said, hey, thank you for the property, and we'll maintain space and utilities in that building for you. That hasn't worked out. They understand that. I would recommend against making our move contingent upon an agreement with them. I mean, that puts them in control over us. That concerns me, because they took space in the bus barn when we offered it to them. They wanted to relocate some buses over here. They did. They have never paid the utilities we paid. They did pay it. Sorry, I'm wrong. They did. They just recently paid.
They paid an agreement that we came to, not.
Okay, that's right. We had to renegotiate that, but they did. They paid the reduced amount that we had.
Right.
But, you know, in our meetings with them and everything else, they've been fine. I mean, I understand it, that we've taken a big load off their shoulders for the last 8 years, and they want to keep it off. And understand that position, but at the same time, you know, part of the reason that we're talking about moving is that the big expense we have associated with this building, not even considered repairs. It's just the maintenance.
Well, the maintenance would probably pay a mortgage.
Yep, exactly. That's why we
Or
talk about
the utility cost.
Yep.
So.
But I guess that's my takeaway on all that would simply be, yes, we need to negotiate in good faith and talk about, you know, coordinate with the school board so that the children aren't left, you know, the ones that are harmed by this. But I would recommend against making our move contingent on a deal with the school board, because then they are
Well,
going
we
to
need
dictate
to
to
know,
us.
we need to know what their intentions are, because I will not go along with putting the youngsters out on the street to demo. And it's not a good idea to move away from here and leave them here.
We've never suggested that.
Okay.
Meaning, I don't think they've ever, and they've never suggested that, and they just never have. I mean, we've told them what we are doing with plenty of lead time, and my understanding, again, I know you've had some discussions with different people, but we disagree on some things, the school board and the city, but they're under no delusion that we would maintain this entire 65,000 square feet for the nest.
When we had that meeting, what I got out of the meeting was the superintendent now that's in office said she wasn't dealing no way. And they said, wait till the new superintendent comes in.
And I've had a lengthy discussion with her
And,
by phone.
you know, that's what I got out of the meeting, that the superintendent, she's not going to
But
deal
now
no way.
I fear if they move to a location in town, then we're gonna be dealing with the 500-foot buffer, because they are a school.
And that is at least something within our control. Meaning, I understand what you're saying, that if they move, as you said, somewhere downtown.
Say to the Head Start building.
The Head
Which
Start
would be
building,
nice
then
for
it would limit, talking about kind of apples and oranges, but it's absolutely a concern that then a new, someone who wanted to run a restaurant or something else that moved in there would have trouble, but at least that's within our control. Meaning we could, we've had, I'm not suggesting we bring it up, because I know it's always a big controversial issue, the alcohol ordinance, but that's something within our control. We could create an exception. We could carve out things as needed. That's, sort of my push on this would be that we're in control of our own destiny. The school board is not telling us where we have to relocate City Hall or how much we can spend or where it's going to be or anything like that.
Okay, well, we need to get going on those negotiations, and you sending a letter to Ms. Sanders, the attorney, and then maybe she writes back in a month, that's just, it needs to be ramped up some way,
okay,
somehow.
no problem.
What's
I can
happening.
certainly ramp it up, but the thing is, and again, we can talk about this just more, but talking about it here is maybe not always the best way to do it. But we have a timetable that's internal to us on once we arrive at a site, however we're moving ahead to City Hall. My job in general has been, I notify them of that. They need to make arrangements. The nest is a school board function.
Okay.
And it's not incumbent upon us to solve that entire, we've offered the field house, we've offered the bus barn behind us, we've offered to help with money to help them do this. We're doing what we need to do, in my opinion. It's up to them, which they've shown that they've negotiated good faith, even at our meeting. They've come around somewhat, and we need to, I agree with you, find common ground, get an agreement, but I do not want to give the impression or even lock us in that we can't move until we have an agreement, because they won't move.
All right, we have two people. Miss Beth was first. What? Okay.
I don't understand, how you can go make a decision which property you're gonna go for or go forward in that without knowing what it's gonna cost.
That's next on my list.
Because, and it is next on the list. A 6,000 square foot building at $200 a square foot, that's $1.2 million. And then you get property purchase, and then you get a demolition of this building. We're in $2 million, and you don't have a barn, and you don't have your storage area. So it seems to me like the best place would be this area, because you do have your barn, you don't have to worry about. Because if you have to start, then if you give this place up, and then you've got to put a barn, find property for a barn, you're looking at $2 million, or you're looking at $3 million. So you got to figure out just how much money you've got to spend before you go on the road or here.
This is why we've got to negotiate with the school board. We've got to somehow figure something out. It's worrisome. So and then Mr. Waddell had something, but I was actually going to ask the clerk and the administrator if they would, what do they think about consulting with the CPA to have him help us guide us on what our budget might be for a new city hall? Would that be a way to start approaching what we can afford and not afford?
Sure.
I'm just trying to figure this out. How are we going to figure out what we can afford? Or do we go to a bank and talk to a loan officer?
I think we can start with the CPA and see what he suggests.
Okay.
He might tell us that he can't help us send us to the bank, I don't know.
Okay. But I don't want to look at raising the millage rates. We can only go one more mill. That brings us 100,000. So, but we can work with what we're paying for utilities now. And then Mr. Waddell, what would you like to see?
Certainly don't want to digress in the process of all of what it's obvious. There's been a lot of discussion about different options. But I have a question. How much, the commitment on square footage for the nest is how much?
This is the thing. There is a commitment to the school board. There's a commitment to the school board that while we're in this facility, we provide space and utilities to them.
While you're in this facility.
Yeah, sorry, that we provide them with space, yeah, in this facility. That was part of the term of the school site, getting the school site deeded to us, was that we provide them space and utilities.
Fee simple. I mean, the city owns
The
this.
city
property.
owns 6 acres, fee simple, that doesn't change whether we demo it or anything else.
And the boundary is somewhere over there close to the football field.
Yep.
Or
Or parking lot. We don't own the parking lot, it wraps around the gym and back around this.
We own the
this.
footprint of these buildings.
Yeah, basically a footprint, yeah, a little bit around.
And who owns the parking lot?
The school board, it's under lease, the city has a 50-year lease on parking lot, fields, field house.
Gotcha. All right, so that probably knocks out the light bulb moment I had sitting over there. Because in terms of site cost or development costs, you take a fairly significant chunk away from, the development of a new facility if you don't have to deal with stormwater, you don't have to deal with utilities, you don't have to deal with parking, you don't have to deal with land clearing. And so my light bulb moment sitting over there thinking that the parking lot was part of this property was build the facility that you want in the parking field next door. If you've got to demolish this building, then demolish it, and the nest goes into a temporary facility, worst case scenario, and then does that mean your obligation to provide them space goes away? Follow my thinking?
I do, but I mean, when they came over to meet with us, we walked through the bus barn in the back, we talked about the field house, which they own, and it's only under lease. If the city, in any sort of negotiation, took on some responsibility, there's all this leased area. I mean, we could trade property, we could swap property. I mean, throw any ideas you have out on that, and we can talk about it. We don't have to go through it all now, but yeah, I mean, if we said, hey, we'll trade you a half acre for this or that, and we'll take on some responsibilities to the nest more than we would otherwise, since we're no longer obligated to, it's wide open.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at this facility, keep in mind, I mean, it was a school site. It had, I don't know, 100 employees, probably. It was probably built for 1,500 students, just guessing. Tons of parking. I mean, there's parking on the road is sufficient probably to serve the current and recognizably the future needs for parking for the new city hall. And so if you planned if the property boundaries could be rearranged, the new city hall in the parking lot next door, I mean, that would almost seem like a seamless thing, but it's got to be a zero-sum game, I think, for between the city and the school board, because I would venture to guess that the city doesn't want to buy any property from the school board.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the board, I mean, you're right, I would say so.
And actually, I feel like we have bought this property from the school board because we took away their burden of having to demolish the property.
Huge liability.
We took a huge liability from them and then went ahead and took on the responsibility of maintaining a facility and utilities for the nest now for how many years? 8 or 9 years. The nest is an after-school program for those who don't know.
And a pretty important part of the community, right? I mean, it's the only facility.
And Eastern Franklin County, I'll say this because they watch our videos, is underserved by the school board. And I did tell the superintendent-elect that we are underserved. We don't want the nest to go away from Carrabelle, but we want them to help us, the citizens, to share in the responsibility of after-school program, the county after-school program that's for the county children.
Right. So, even, and I'm not familiar exactly with the details of our engagement on evaluating these options, but even if it were pro bono, I think for us as far as working, with the city and the architect, examining that option, it would be a really good idea. And suggestions that could be made to, if we had the ability to erase and redraw some boundary lines on the school board property, how would we suggest that option be cultivated? We can certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have ideas.
And they're using a large amount of space now, but we have been informed that they need about 2,000 square feet. So that's not that much.
On the nest.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible we could negotiate something where they took part of the Bay building and we kept part for storage. We definitely, the city needs storage, for certain items that we use. Can't be stored inside.
And, yeah, or
Christmas lights is a big item.
or demolition of the building less than accept sufficient space for the nest. I mean, when you take away, I don't want to call it an albatross, but you get rid of most of the albatross and preserve a wing, and then provide HVAC and plumbing and mechanical, whatever, for the portion that's left, it has to be a lot more efficient than the system that was designed to serve the whole albatross.
But I wouldn't mind trying to negotiate with them instead of just throwing in the towel and paying the money for demo and walking away and leave the site empty, unused, or, we don't.
Well, we've talked about that as far as would it be, useful as we have the industrial park out on Airport Road, we'd have an office park here. I mean, the city has vacant property all over the city, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to use it. I mean, you don't want to.
And I mentioned to Russell, I don't know, maybe a year ago, this site for future expansion. You could build the post office here, you could have the fire department, you could. And it also, we're already pouring thousands and thousands of tax revenue dollars from the CRA into that certain district. Now we're going to take another million, whatever, and pour it into the CRA district out of the general fund, when we could take that money and start rehabbing this area of Carrabelle and get these blighted buildings removed and get some new buildings put in here and start improving the property. That property there is for sale, 5-acre tract, improve this, there's more to Carrabelle than just at the CRA district.
We've got, because we are in a negotiation with the school board, they have the benefit of watching us on YouTube and see our negotiations that we have. We don't have that benefit with them. I mean, they have their strategy session and whatever else out, doing, and nothing wrong with it, they just do. But talking about all this, one thing from staring at the school transfer agreement right now, one thing that, again, my goal is to make sure the city is in control of our own destiny here as far as what we do. And one thing that I would think we could independently just do, along the lines of what Jim's talking about, just food for thought for the next meeting, would be if we committed to taking you call it the bus barn, but we just say, okay, here's 2,000 square feet. We have some folks paint it, get it a little bit of shape. It was already good enough for offices 2 years ago. It's not in bad shape. Clean it up, get a coat of paint on it, and say, okay, here's your nest area. I mean, that is absolutely our right, and what that is exactly what the lease transfer agreement says. Would be no disagreement in interpretation of that, and we would simply say, hey, make arrangements to move your operation over there, and they should do nothing but thank us if we did that, and it would be on our dime, and we'd have that. It would be they're separate, and then we could, as Jim's talking about, kind of combine demolition of the site with the building new area on this site, as well as when we talk to the the school board, try and adjust the boundaries, whether it's giving and taking, or we're actually getting additional property because we're going to go ahead they can stop worrying about their capital outlay and things they were talking about in our meeting, where they were looking at spending significant money to build a new nest site or do it somewhere else. They don't have to worry about that anymore. The city's gonna take care of it, as their position is we should take care of it. Well, hey, fine, we acquiesce on that, we give on that, and say, okay, we've got a building back here, and we're gonna put it in shape for you. Move everybody in there. Then we're in control of all that. It will cost us a little bit of money, but there's probably, as we go through all these options, we're kind of realizing we're gonna be spending money.
And let me just mention to staff then, when they're talking to the CPA, first of all, we have to know if we borrow $250,000 or $300,000 for demo, is somebody going to, what are they going to want for collateral? Say we borrow that money and then we go off and leave the land vacant, there's nothing there, there's nothing for collateral.
This is...
So can we get money for that? How do we, and then can we get money to rehab, or would we use them out of renewal and replacement to rehab 2,000-something square feet back here? Does that building have separate power and separate power meter on it?
Not right now.
But we could do that.
Yeah, but, and just kind of close the loop on the thought that I had. I mean, you've looked at some other options where you're talking about older, repurposing existing buildings for City Hall. Well, repurposing, say, the bus facility or the auto mechanics / building trades building that's in the back, assuming it was similar to the building that was built when Apalachicola High School was built. Repurposing that educational facility for little guys in the nest, I think would be right in the wheelhouse of the architect, to come up with creative way to repurpose that space. And if it ended up being a little bigger than the 2,000 square feet that they presently occupy, then there we go, maybe satisfying the unmet need on this end of the county. But it's another point of discussion with the school board to make that option work, or to determine if that option is feasible.
Okay, well, thank you. We thank you for your input, your educated and professional input. And then Mr. Christopherson.
A little more non-professional, but I think until you decide that you're absolutely not going to build here, I don't think that the term relocate is appropriate, because you're not really going to relocate if you're going to stay here. The other thing is, I think something needs to be studied as to what the agreements with Appalach and East Point are that would be fair to Carrabelle. I mean, we shouldn't have any more of a responsibility than either of those two communities as far as the taxpayers go. So if they're getting a better deal, maybe you could do the nest back there and then say we want a scale down of our responsibilities over a period of years. Say we'll handle it for 5 years, and then after that we've got to work our way into getting that back under school board control, or under some sort of grant control or something. I know that Appalachian, they've got some kind of grant programs that handle theirs. So just whatever's fair to Carrabelle that Appalachian East Point are getting. I think that's only fair to the citizens over on this side. Thank you.
And it has been suggested to me to appoint a fact-finding committee, because this entire process is becoming exhausting to staff and to all of us. And we know, just as Commissioner Walden said, we are going to need to narrow down the options and then do a complete assessment on the cost of each option. So to make it fair. And yes, we've got two. All right, Miss Bragdon.
I just want to ask, do you have a timeline? Has anybody come up with a timeline?
There's no real timeline. The staff is functioning well. They functioned well. We're handling our water and sewer. We're handling everything we need to handle. We're paying a lot of money on utilities. If there happens to be a problem with the building and it becomes like there's no rush, I feel like we need to do it right. We don't need to get ourselves in another predicament like we're in now, you know, trying to rehab an old building and hobble it along, and, you know, if we have the opportunity to build something new, state of the art, I think we should. And if it costs a couple $100,000 more, we should. If things get rough, if our air conditioning is iffy, I think we spent half the summer without air conditioning. The roof is pretty bad, it's ready to go. But if it gets that bad, instead of getting ourselves in a predicament, we could put staff in temporary offices, which might have to happen anyway. And the nest, there's, the school board owns 3 temporary modular classroom buildings out here. If they have to, they can do that for the youngsters as well. So, and yes, Ms. Hilton.
I was just gonna say that before you really can do anything, in my opinion, is I think going to the CPA, knowing what you can afford. You can't look at any options and say, well, we're gonna go through this option, see what that's gonna cost, we're gonna go with this option. You have to find out what you can afford. And then they're gonna tell you, you know, Carrabelle, this is what your budget is. And then you can look for a property that's gonna be within that budget, rather than to say, well, this is what we want, you tell us what we can afford. So they have to look at all of our expenses and come up with what we're going to be able to pay per month.
So yes, and I think that's the 2 main things we need to do is know what our responsibilities and agreements are with the school board, what their responsibilities are going to be, and see what we can afford. And then, as I'll say again, Commissioner Walden, we need to narrow it down to 2 or 3 options, and then do a fact-finding study, a detailed study on those options, and see what fits the needs of the staff so they can function, and what fits the needs of the taxpayer that they can afford. So,
I like Commissioner Walden's suggestion that we need to just, we got this long list, let's start getting rid of, eliminate the ones that we don't want, and come up with, you know, the best 3 possibilities, and then with these other things in mind, the budget, what can we do, go from there, because, you know, we can be wrapped up in all these extemporaneous issues, and it's taken away from our time to really get the problem resolved. So, let's thin it out a little bit.
and we've been wrapped up in it for over 2 years, so.
And I know how much time you put in.
Yeah, so, we need to.
How many hours of sleep have you missed? How many?
No, but you know, I'm not
But
gonna.
I know you're that way. You want to get in there.
We're not gonna get, if we have to stay here, I'm not in a rush to get this done during my mayoralship. If it happens that I'm voted out and it doesn't happen, I'd rather leave it as is than go off and leave us in another situation that somebody else has to repair. So if we can't do it right, then we'll just wait till we can do it right. That's the way I feel about it. And I'm struggling to get it done right, and I hope, you know, we can all work together.
Get it done right.
Okay.
It's a big issue, and it's going to affect
important.
the Carrabelle for a long, long time, whatever we do. And it's not something that we can deal with flippantly, and but we've got to get the facts as they are, know where we stand with all this school stuff, and know what we can and what we can't do, and then get on with it.
All right.
And by the way, she just brought up number 6, so we need to get ready.
Yeah, we did. So we basically discussed item 6, a brief discussion regarding developing a proposed budget. And then item 7, we'll just move forward to that, suggestions regarding pursuit of funding options. And after we can figure out what a budget is, then we'll have maybe the folks over at Sock Choppy said they just went to their bank and got a loan. Maybe we can look at Centennial Bank, or have the Florida League of Cities come and talk to us and tell us how they can help us with funding. So after we can figure out what our budget will be. Because you can't go to the bank and say, I want to borrow some money, but I don't know how much. Don't know what I want to build, don't know where I want to build it.
We gotta know all that.
Yeah. All right, yes, ma'am.
What is the dollar per square foot of the new building that we're using? And the projections of the new building, like $1 per square foot of
Oh, I had that
construction?
figured, just let me look through here. I can find it. It was 500 and, well, it was 5,963 square feet, and the final cost was $731,000. So that was about $122 a square foot, somewhere around in there.
That's soft chocolate.
Yes, and they didn't buy the land.
And it was built in,
2009 was their plan, said 2009, but the girl said, the administrator said 2008.
And I just need some clarification as far as taking it to the CPA, because without talking to a certified public accountant, I can tell you right now what we can afford, only what's in our budget, what we're paying now. Because we're not even balancing,
Let me see.
not balancing our budget as we are. So you can't spend more than you're putting into this right now.
And that's running about
60,000.
Somewhere in there.
So I don't know what we're needing to ask the CPA.
that's $60,000 a year.
For a mortgage, you think?
Well, I did a general mortgage calculator, and it using about a 3.67 interest rate, which is what I consider reasonable. $1 million was about 60,000. $1 million was about 50,000. 1.5 was about 80. 2 million was about 100,000 a year.
Now, is that including utilities and everything that they came up with, or is that just?
That's just a mortgage calculator. It's just a simple, just to give me kind of an idea of what we're looking at.
So you're saying right now that we're spending 60,000 on a mortgage a year, or is that?
No, we're spending $60,000 to maintain this building, utilities,
Okay, that's.
everything involved.
So it makes sense.
Service, maintenance, water, sewer, power.
And we have to remember, no matter what we do, we have to tear down this building.
So, I mean, we're operating at a maximum budget now. What I'm saying is you can't raise your millage rate anymore. So you're paying $60,000 to stay in this building right now. We can't spend more than that.
But now, if you have, Commissioner
And that's
Mathis.
putting a 3% down payment of about $30,000.
Okay, I appreciate that. Commissioner Mathis said, and the new building's gonna cost, maintenance, energy,
On top of the
yeah.
payment.
And, so that's where, if you could have an energy efficient building, that would really help
But you're not
out.
gonna have as much square footage.
I beg your
You're
pardon?
gonna have a lot less square footage to have
To maintain.
So your
You can
utilities.
get yourselves streamlined, and then plan for expansion in the future if you need it. Okay.
Maybe you should check with Sop Choppy and see what their utility costs are over there, and you could kind of figure that in when you start to figure out what it's actually going to cost if you built a similar structure. And out on Timber Island too, just see what their utilities are running them a month on those two efficient buildings, and just
And
to kind
Captain
of.
Wood did say he would get that for us, but he's a busy fellow. And I think maybe the lady at Miss Schilling and Sop Choppy might. She said if she could help us any way, she would. So then item 7 is, yes, sir? Yes. Yes, Mr. Cliff.
Let me add two things, maybe make it a little easier on a couple of things you're talking about.
Come forward, Mr. Butler.
Financing, you will probably have to go to a bank for the construction loan. But there are loan programs through the USDA and others that you can get a fixed rate. Because right now, while the rate she's using is very good, there's a lot of talk about rates going up. And most banks will not lock in to more than 3 years. So you need to make sure when you get your permanent financing, it is a fixed rate, or else it's going to keep going up.
Yes.
And from the insurance side, I'm sure y'all probably go through the Florida Legal City or somebody, but as a general rule, older buildings are much more expensive to insure than new buildings.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how the Florida Legal Cities handle things like that, but you may want to ask, because that may enter into your decision on building new or or rehabbing those buildings.
Okay, all right.
And another, I just want to throw out, I'm an outsider, the Nest, it's a good program, and I would hope the city fathers and mothers, whatever you want to call them, city commissioners, would want to have that for your kids. Are you obligated to do that in the Carrabelle area? I mean,
Yes, that was signed, we bought the commission at the time in 2008 or 9, bought this property for $10 with provisions that the Nest provide facility, $1.
We provide space and utilities for the Nest.
but they don't provide staff and all that, is that?
No.
No, that's funded by the school board.
And that goes to the successor and assigns as well.
But if y'all build this building somewhere else, abandon this property, what happens?
I'm not sure. It's Mr.
It's my opinion that if we build somewhere else, off-site, that responsibility does not come with us. But if we're on this site, we have that responsibility.
And does this property still belong to the city even if you go to a different site?
It does.
But we don't know what we can do with it if we, what can be done with it.
If I'm not mistaken, y'all got a better deal than.
So if I could do it for $2, then we would get 100% profit.
Yeah. Okay, all right, is there anything else? Okay, then we'll, anything else? All right, then, Keisha, we're adjourning. Keisha, we have a motion and a second.
We need a motion to adjourn.
No.